Hello and welcome to Creative Wonder. I'm your host, Tay Histel. I've always been curious about how other creatives run their businesses, how they find clients, market themselves, and somehow turn ideas into actual income. Each episode, I sit down with creative professionals to dig into their marketing strategies, how they use photography, and the real story behind how they got to where they are. All right, let's get into it. I'm talking to Cliff Snyder, who is the creative director from 10 a.m. Creative, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say today to, get me up to date on what you do and your strategies and how you go about your work and marketing and things like that. So let's just get right into it. I want to hear a little bit of the behind story of how you came to be in the career that you're at right now.
Right. Yeah. So I sort of stumbled my way into this career. I think people probably have a lot more direct paths to this career than I did. Um, it started back when I was a teenager, and my father started a academic publishing company. Now he was interested in books and uh, publishing the books of other professors, but he wasn't interested in designing those books. And so he tapped his teenage son who liked playing around with computers and was like, "Hey, can you make this look like a book?" And so that was my dipping my toes into the world of graphic design was there. And the publishing company ended up sort of taking off a little bit, and so that ended up sort of becoming my part-time, full-time job as I went through university. And one thing led to another. I ended up working for an American publishing company after that. Um, and yeah, so I was a book designer for well over 10 years. Um, and and then made the switch to being a digital and web designer after that. Um, so it was sort of a roundabout path. Life just sort of happened to me.
Yeah, sometimes life evolves and just brings you into that, you know, place by
I'm a
accident, a
go with the
happy
flow kind of
accident.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any special types of projects that you particularly specialize in, or ones that you prefer or are your favorites?
So I really like digital and web. So one of the limitations of being a print designer is you've got a static sheet in front of you, or whatever size it is. If you're doing product design, you got the dial lines and cut lines, and and you're limited to that. And the exciting thing with digital design is you don't know what people are going to be looking at what you've created on. Is it going to be an enormous desktop monitor, or a small phone? Um, and I really like the challenge that comes with digital design. Um, as far as the one types of projects I like working on the most, I like stretching my skill set, and being forced to learn new things. I Because of the way I got into graphic design, I've always approached everything with a beginner's mind. So that means just being open and eager and willing to make mistakes, learn new things. And so any project where I know that I'm going to be learning something new, I like that project. And in the last year, there's been a fair amount of stuff where I found myself doing more coding than I've done in the past. So doing generative design, and it's I've just being a computer person as well as a graphic design person. I've always dipped my toe into coding before, but that I've noticed that coming up more and more now.
That's pretty cool. So when you start a new project, what do you begin with? Is it the visuals or the messaging or the user behavior for the people using the product?
You know what? I think any design should start with the user behavior. Um, and I like what's the purpose of design if not the act of communication? And who are you communicating with? It's the end user. So if you don't have a good understanding of that user behavior, I think that you're you're missing that crucial first step. Essentially, you're building a ladder without the bottom rungs.
Hmm.
Um, so I always start with the user behavior, and as much information as I can have about that, then that guides the rest of the project better. After that, it's messaging, because again, communication. Like you have to have a clear messaging, um, and then after that, the visuals, which is the fun part.
That's pretty cool. So once you got the messaging after the usability and you got that all figured out, how do you bring in emotion or some sort of way to actually appeal more so to a deeper level for people who are using these kinds of, websites or print design or whatever it
Hmm.
may be?
Well, you are stuck within whatever the confines of the brand guidelines are. So I like to work with color to help guide emotion. But sometimes the brand guideline, especially some of the more boring corporate ones, uh, you know, you're going to get your blues and your greens, and you can feel a little bit limited. So if that's not an option for me, if color is not an option, I like to use leading lines and and blank space, negative space. So you've got your message, and if you can design in such a way so that the image next to it has the direction of those leading lines focused at this message to the side of it, that's a great way of sort of subtly bringing some feeling into it and being able to emphasize the message that I'm looking for.
I suppose this leads into your choices for fonts and for colors and for the imagery that you choose to go along with your design. Um, Tell me a little bit about your process for choosing those things. Although I feel like from what you've said, you're kind of sometimes boxed into what you can use from brand guidelines with businesses. But
Right.
if you're not boxed in, how do you go about
Yeah.
choosing?
If I'm not boxed in, well, even if I am boxed in, so often with the brand guidelines, you're going to have um, the body font and the title font, but the sizing of the font, you might have some flexibility there. I love I love, as much as I said that I like working on the digital now. I like bringing the skills that I learned from the book design world into the digital space. So there's a lot of web content out there that's long form text, and it's not very well designed as long form text. They're not using a readable font. I like for readable fonts in longer texts, serif font. Um, there's a transitional era of serif fonts and some nice newer fonts that are created for that. And they've got these. It makes it so much easier to read at when you're facing a block of text, where the letter forms lead into the next. And I find that that's something that can unfortunately be absent um, from some projects that I'm working on. And so if I have the opportunity, I'll bring some of those book design skills into the projects that I'm working on to try to make these longer blocks of text much more readable in sort of a book style format. Um,
I like that. I like that tactic you have there for like making it more readable. The appearance of it more soft
yeah,
on the eyes
and
for
and And the other thing that you have to keep track of is is the number of characters per line. I know we're getting a little nitty gritty here, but again, it's often lost that the human eye does not want to scan across 200 characters in a given line.
right.
We want to have it about 60 to 80 characters, and
Okay.
um, and again, this is something that comes back to that sort of white space and margins. But I often find that on if the person if I'm coming into a design where a person doesn't have that eye, that they're going to leave the margins far too wide, um, and the line length is going to be unpleasantly long, and it's going to be difficult to read. People are going to skip over it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get that. So when it comes to imagery, like what is the difference to you between nice images and images that, you know, visually build trust with clients, with potential customers, with people using those online platforms?
Building trust. Well, I mean, eventually we were going to end up at the topic of AI,
Yeah.
right? Well, you want to talk about images that build trust. Let's start with the images that remove trust. And those AI generated images. I'm not going to name names, but I've had clients come to me, um, and they've generated these images. They want to use these images, and they're clearly AI. And
Hmm.
and it's my job to communicate to them that that what they're putting out there as their corporate identity, corporate face, and if it includes AI images, you're going to sever that bond of trust. Like, people don't currently trust AI. And if they're
Hmm.
looking at a website and they notice that this image is clearly AI generated, maybe there's an extra, I don't know, extra digit on a hand, obviously. That's an obvious one. But there's some tells. Um, then you've removed that trust. And so I think that's an obvious one. Like, just be human, use
Hmm.
humans, do human things. Um, and and that's a good place to start for trust. The other thing that I've noticed, and I've come across this as well, and I'm sure that you have as well, is that sometimes the image is this idealized outcome, and I feel like that's like, say that you're a an insurance company, and the one that I've come across is people driving off in a convertible with their arms out the top of the convertible roof, and I don't I don't know that that will ever happen in my lifetime to me. And I don't know that
Life
I
goals.
identify with that as well. And so this idealized outcome is the it's so instinctual as designers and marketers to present this idealized outcome. But I feel like if you do that too much, you're gonna again break the bond of trust. A good example of this going the other direction and using this as an actual advertising campaign is that the Dove, what was it called? Real Beauty, um,
Yes, right.
where instead
Yeah.
of just showing models, because that's all we ever see in those types of ads,
Yeah.
we saw people who looked like us. And I'm not that pretty. It's fine. But
But it really made
that
them
ad
stand
campaign,
out.
well, it made them stand out, and it stuck in my head as what they're really doing here is they're not just showing people who look like normal people, they're building trust.
Yeah,
Like,
there's that
and that's
authenticity.
something to keep in mind as I do yet another website where somebody's retired and driving a convertible with their arms up like this. Um, I just sometimes would like to skew back in the other direction.
Hmm. Hmm. I know, a lot of, people will use stock images, which have their place, obviously. But a lot of times people overdo it with the stocks to the point that
Oh my God.
you
Yes. Thank you for
you
bringing that
can't
up.
you can't tell who the people are. Like, you don't know them personally, and it feels so, fake. And I just want to
There's
know
no
one
story.
person that works at your
Yeah,
company.
exactly. There's no story that gets built as a result of a website being populated with 100 stock images. There's no story that can be built.
Hmm.
And I think that that's something that can get missed. Again, I'm glad you brought that up because it's it's not so much about building trust at that point as just removing whatever trust might have existed from from the person coming to the website. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I've had those situations as well where people don't want to pay for photography and what to just use stock.
Do you have any idea of how AI will change in your industry as far as, like, you know, how it will affect web design or, interactions with people?
If I had an answer to that, I no, I don't really have an answer to that. I've I keep up with tech, obviously, and the the future of the web is unfortunately pretty tenuous at this point. Um, just thinking about it pragmatically, people go on to the internet or onto a web browser to find information most often. Um, and what AI, specifically agentic AI, supposes is Well, what if they didn't even need to do that and the agent just went onto the web and found the information and just presented it back to them as just a conversation or structured data? Um, and at that point, you don't really need web design anymore. If it comes to that, um, all you need to do is have your website output structured data and maybe some APIs for doing e-commerce, maybe another one for mailing list. But the actual design part is filtered out entirely. Is that
Hmm.
the future? I don't know if that's the future,
Oh,
but
I hope not.
certainly a lot of people seem to think that's the future. It's not a future that I would want. I like going on the web. I like
Yeah,
going to people's websites, but I'm also a website designer. So maybe that's
right.
why I like it.
Maybe. I like seeing what other people have done on their websites, and, you know, it's very exciting for me when I see what I like, and, where the it actually keeps your attention, and it's well designed, and it's colorful, and you get the information you need. You don't have to go searching through every single page to find it. I mean,
Yep.
and then on the flip side, there's a lot of really bad websites out there, whether they don't have any of the information you need, they don't have any pictures, about themselves, they don't have a story of who they are or what, they just say, "This is what we do." But then, you know, there's no proper links to anything, and it's frustrating.
There's that, but also there's, information websites that are so full of ads that they're almost unusable, and
Yeah.
that's another consideration as well. Like, I'm trying to think of what would make me switch to an agentic AI browser that essentially would deliver me the information that I'm
Mhm.
looking for without me actually going to the websites, and I think it would be if the web experience deteriorates to such a point that it is unpleasant for me to browse the web. And
Mhm.
it's not here yet. Um, but I do think that it's likely that there's going to be less and less investments in building websites as people switch to agentic AI browsing, essentially.
Mhm. Mhm. Are there any trends out there right now in the design world that are exciting or concerning or, you know, that are sticking out to you?
Hmm. I don't do a lot of trend chasing. Or even trend watching. I
Mhm.
I have had requests from corporations to integrate certain trends into a website design, and I'm always sort of reminded of that. Do you know that Steve Buscemi holding the skateboard and he's saying "Hello, fellow kids,"
Yeah, I
and he
do.
looks like a 60-year-old man.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's it's a challenge when like a stodgy old brand wants to use a trend to try to like modernize themselves to try to stay away from that. Um, design itself is its own language, and there's a lot that's communicated in just the design itself. And you do need to be sort of aware of that subtext and be careful with the way that you trend chase because it can look really dated. It can also just send the wrong message. Um, there was an advertisement for some wealth company, but the they used the obvious sort of staging and music cues from Succession. And for anybody who's watched that TV show, it's a very popular TV show, but
I love
everyone
it.
on it is a horrible person who has too much money and is doing horrible things with their too much money. And for them to use those audio and visual cues to liken this company to Succession actually left a really bad taste in my mouth. And so they're trend
Interesting.
chasing this hot TV show, but as a result, not really understanding the subtext of the language behind it and
Right.
making their own company look bad as a result, at least in my opinion. So stuff like that, I don't know. You just got to be careful. Okay, so I guess the sort of trend watching that I do is just what I don't know if you spend much time on TikTok. I
Not so
kind of love
much.
it.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that's good.
yeah.
But um, but there are these Asian designers that just pop up and and it's a design from the other side of the world. And I love just watching the way, and it's very well made TikTok videos, but I just love watching the way that they arrange their designs because they're doing stuff. They have a character set that I don't get to work with. Like you know, it's
Right.
the Chinese language, um, and so you design differently because of that. But I just love watching those and how they solve design challenges in these short, like 1 minute videos. I don't go seeking them out, but just the way the TikTok algorithm works, it pops it up, and I have fun watching those.
Yeah, whenever I go traveling, I love, discovering, design books or just
Yeah.
seeing how text is used differently on the front of magazines or on signage or wherever it
Yeah,
may
just
be.
looking at street ads as you go traveling, I find that
Yeah.
fascinating because it's a whole different like it's a global village now, so we're all like informing everyone else's design, but you get these little sections of the world where stuff is just happening totally differently there, and you wonder how did that happen? And also, there's a lot of stuff when I'm traveling that I just like why
Yeah.
don't we do more of that?
Yeah. Are there
Um,
like any people or brands that really inspire you with their design or anything?
hmm, there is. It's she's not like a famous designer or anything like that, but there's somebody on YouTube that I follow. She's called Juxtaposed, and I really like the way that she approaches design. She approaches design like somebody who's like 20 years younger than me, which I really like. And again, the other way that she approaches design again is with a sort of beginner's mind. Like she's just always looking at discovering how to do new things with the tech that we're given. And yeah, so anytime she pops up a video, I'm watching that. I don't trying to think if there are brands that I look to. Not really. Not really.
Do you mainly work solo or do you collaborate with like developers or photographers or copywriters or other people?
It's about 50-50.
Mhm.
I love collaborating. So I love it when I'm coming onto a job and they've already got programmer and they've already got copywriters
Mhm.
and a video team or something like that. I like those jobs. Um, and you know what? Like we've also had jobs where we're the developer side working with designers. So I get to take a back seat and the design gets to take a back seat as we do the development work on a website. And I like that too. But I'd say it's about 50-50. There's a lot of projects that just need somebody to do sort of the full stack thing and take it from beginning to end. And yeah, those are good too. But
Nice.
I prefer the ones where I get to collaborate.
Yeah, I prefer the ones where I get to collaborate as well. I love working as a team, having a vision, doing something more creative, that kind of thing.
Oh, I love it. I love it when it's somebody else's vision too, because I love seeing other people do what's my normal day to day work and just seeing how they do it.
Mhm.
Um, there's one I'm working on right now where a project manager, um, and often I'm doing the project managing, but this one has a dedicated project manager, and it's just that he sent out emails all day. Like he's sending out so many more emails than I would send out as a project manager. Um, that it's just interesting to see how other people manage that aspect of the job when you're working collaboratively.
Mhm. And, like, how do you market yourself as far as, getting your name out there, getting in front of people, getting jobs coming in?
Well, I mostly do podcasts. I'm just kidding. No, I don't do it very well. So it's word of mouth.
Yeah,
So previous
same.
clients recommending me to future clients, and I find that's created a nice little stream of clients coming in. Obviously, you're keeping an eye out for the RFPs that get posted around and put a proposal together. And sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Um, I always wonder, like, if I if I put $500 a day into Google Ads, what would happen?
Right?
I've never
Like,
done
will
that
it work?
experiment.
Yeah, I've dabbled in it, and I haven't had much success, but
Exactly.
maybe I'm not doing it
Yeah.
right.
Well, there's always that option. Yeah. Um, but I find that the word of mouth and just doing good work That's all that's needed.
Hmm. What do you wish? And this is my last question. What do you wish every marketer understood about design's role in brand growth?
I wish that they knew that design is itself a language. And I wish that when they're approaching their marketing, that they think beyond the message that they're given to promote and the way that design can counteract that, work against it, or accentuate it. Um,
Hmm.
and I find that that's something marketers are so focused on the measurable results. So if it's a message that they're trying to get across and it's a cost per click, and then they can measure the cost per click and see, does that translate into an overall net value profit as a result. But I feel like there is this additional um, behind the scenes element of brand perception that can get lost in the marketing.
Hmm.
Just coming back to that advertisement that used succession
Right.
as as its motif. Um, Maybe that did drive people to the app, but it might be the wrong people than what the app is looking for, because an actual
Right.
discerning person could be turned off of that. So you might end up seeing an uptick as a result of people thinking, "Oh yeah, that's from that show. That's cool." Um, but as far as the people who do a little bit more thinking, you might not get those as a result. So it's just some stuff like that, like thinking of design as a language. I think that is something I wish that marketers took into account.
That's great. I love everything that you've said, and I feel like it's been very informative. I know you've been very helpful to me with my website and some of the things I've needed help with, and you're, just quick on the, spot to help me. And
Okay, so
I thank you.
I love I love helping people. Like it's
Yeah,
such a
good.
it's like silly thing to say, but I love it when stuff just works. And
Yeah,
if I can be the person who makes stuff just work, that's great.
yeah,
I feel
good.
very happy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would, you know, appreciate your skills if they needed a website or something like that. So, anyways, I just want to thank you so much for talking to me, giving me this information, a little bit of the behind the scenes of your business and what you do and who you are a little bit. So,
Yeah, thank you, Tay.
anyways, if there's any other things you want to say, make it now or forever hold your peace.
I'll forever hold my peace, and I hope to uh, see this in the real world. Like I want to
All
share
right.
this around. So
Fantastic.
send
Yeah,
this to
share it
me, and
around. Okay. Thanks so
all right,
much. Bye bye.
bye bye.
That's it for this episode of Creative Wonder with Tay. Thanks for giving it a listen. This podcast is produced by Tay Photography. Yes, that's me, still behind the camera and the mic. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to follow the show, leave a comment or rating, and share it with someone who'd love it too. It really makes a difference. And if you need commercial photography that actually grabs attention instead of getting lost in the scroll, get in touch. You can find me online at tay.ca or on Instagram at tay_creatives. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious. That's where the wonder starts.